Hello and welcome to Organic Edible Garden. Today we're going to look at jobs to do in our midsummer garden. Everything is looking lush and bountiful, and it's important to keep the maintenance up. Our pumpkin patch has done really well this year. We've got buttercups and butternuts growing, and they've already formed and are just about ready to harvest. What I like to do though is let it die down more before I actually harvest my pumpkins. It makes them sweeter and tastier. Because we live in quite humid conditions here, it's important to combat things like the powdery mildew, which will have effect on the photosynthesis in the leaves. So we're going to spray diluted seaweed onto all the plants every fortnight. Things like zucchinis, your cucumbers and our pumpkins, just to prevent that powdery mildew happening. But if you've got leftover, it can be sprayed on just about any plant in the summer garden. Not only will the seaweed help alkalise the leaves, which prevents more mildew from growing, but it also feeds the plants at the same time and makes them stronger. Well, you can leave your pumpkins just to ramble and do their own thing. It's really important that you keep picking your zucchinis and your cucumbers almost every day. You end up getting large marrows otherwise, which really is not one of my favourite things. But what I do is I split them in half and give them to the chooks. The same as with your cucumbers. If you stop picking them, they're going to start to set seed and they're going to stop producing. So even though you're not using them, either put them in the fridge or give them away to neighbours and your plants will keep going. My tomatoes are doing really well and they've got a lot of fruit on. They need delateralling badly, but today's so humid that I just don't want to touch them at the moment. I'm going to wait till I get good clear blue skies and a bit of wind. However, they also need a good feed at this time of the year. Now remember, when feeding at this time of the year, especially when the ground is a little bit drier, it's really important you water the garden first. So the ground and the soil underneath is nice and moist, and then I'm going to go and put some fish and seaweed there. The fish and seaweed will just give it that extra boost and it'll keep helping produce good tomatoes. When using a product like fish and seaweed, you want to dilute it to about 100 to 1. You don't have to be too fussy with it, but just don't make it too strong. The other good thing about using fish in your liquid is that it's an oil. And if you've got insects that are damaging your plant, like your aphids or your green shield beetles, it can smother them. It has a really amazing smell to it, and I put it all over the plants. Even the leaves, they benefit from it. However, if the day's really hot and sunny and really warm, it pays to do it in the evening when it's cooling down a little bit. Today we're fine because it's not going to be one of those days. The corn, however, is slightly different. It's had a hard life competing with the geckos and rabbits, which also love it. So they're a bit short and stunted at the moment, but they will actually grow. What you want to do with corn though is give it more food than you give any other plant. So if I'm going to put this fish and seaweed solution, I'd probably double or triple the intensity of it and give it a good dosage. If you don't have this, chicken poo or sheep pellets or anything else is also really good. Keeping it watered and mulched would probably have helped them a bit more as well. The scarlet runners that are growing up the vine here are doing fantastically, and there's a great crop on them at the moment. The secret with your beans is you must always keep the ground moist. They hate drying out. Also, the importance of bumblebees. Normal bees or wasps can't actually take the nectar from the flowers, so they actually pinch them off and the flowers fall to the ground. With having the bumblebees here, we have a great pollination and a lot of beans coming on. I've got my second crop of climbing beans coming on here, and they're starting to do well. I've also got the drippers on them because they'll give off about 4 litres per hour per dripper, and it'll give them a good soak. It's getting a bit late now to plant your new lot of runnel climbing beans, so if you still want to put beans in this time of year, it's great, but stick to the dwarfs. At this time of year in the orchard, things are fruiting really well. We've got a heritage princess pear here, and although the tree's not big, it's laden with fruit. What we need to do is we need to remove some of this fruit and drop it to the ground. This will give the pear tree a better chance to grow strong. I'm probably going to remove at least half of the fruit, if not more. When it's older, the tree can actually cope with this, but at the moment the branches are bending down. The poor tree here has been even more neglected, and now the pears are determining the shape of the tree. It's weeping them down, and they've got to come off. So I'm going to be quite ruthless and take most of the ones at the ends of the branch off. This is a Doing de Commies, one of my favourite pears, and it always fruits really well, but too heavily. But I want it to get stronger and bigger, so I'm just going to take the most of these guys off. I know this is being ruthless, but the reality is if I don't take them off, this tree will never really become a big, strong, healthy tree. It'll always stay stunted with these weeping branches. This tree's about 3 years old now, and it's done reasonably well, except for the weeping. But underneath, some of the rootstock is starting to come back. Now, this is quince rootstock, and it grows much quicker than the pear tree. What it'll do, it'll take all the nutrients away from the pear and into growing green leaf for the quince. So we also want to take that off. And remember, when pruning anything during the summer months, it always pays to sterilise your secateurs. I always keep them sharp with a sharpening stone, and in between every tree, dip it in the meths, sterilise it, and then go to the next tree. And even some of your plum trees, even though they've sized up and they're going red, it still pays to take some of these guys off. If you don't, not only can branches be broken with the wind, but it can set them into biennial bearing, which means you'll have good years and then the next year will be bad, and it'll just keep going like that. Also, if you take them off, the other fruit will size up better. And finally, we've had a really good crop of strawberries this year, but with the heat of the weather, they're coming to the end. They're going to set runners now, and what you want to do is leave these guys on, don't chop them off. And from these, we're going to make new strawberry plants for next year.